He has seen it all, done it all, knows somebody, if he hasn't done it himself, knows somebody who has. He has just released his latest idea, which is just amazing, the ambition of the guy. If you say you can judge a man by his company, you must be able to judge an industry guru by the company that he keeps, and it is pretty blooming impressive. He is definitely the number one, I'm sure people will disagree, but for my money, he's the number one influencer in the estate agency today. Okay, did you use the word quirkiness because you could see who our next person was going to be?
Do you know what? I didn't, but I'm going to, do you know what? Yes, I did. I did that on purpose.
Very impressive. Like the way you segued in.
Yeah.
To number 6, is it?
Number 6, Russell Quirk.
Yeah.
You've got down eMove, but it's no longer eMove. But unless it's something that you wanted to talk about from his eMove days.
Okay. Well, I think he will always be synonymous with eMove. That's my view. I mean, he might become synonymous with other stuff now. I understand that now he's involved with Keller Williams and great. So I know what people think about Russell Quirk. I know that. And it's almost because of that, rather in spite of that, that I put him on my list in the top 10. What annoys me about when people criticise Russell Quirk, there's this phrase, play the ball, not the man. I think that's a bit too simplistic because sometimes you need the context of the person's character to properly understand their proposition. But really, when it comes to Russell Quirk, play the ball, not the man. This guy, as far as I can see, was either, and lots of people claim to be the first online estate agent. If he wasn't the first online estate agent, he was one of the first online estate agents.
Yeah.
Massive ambition, famous for saying he's going to do this and he's going to do that, and then it didn't happen. But bloody heck has that guy been influential. Absolutely, enormously influential on the world of estate agency.
Yeah.
I mean, before Purple What's-Its came along, it looked to me as if they were going to dominate the online estate agency world.
Yeah.
I know that for some reason, which is totally and utterly beyond me, people tend to revel in the fact that that business venture ultimately failed, certainly in terms of where it was expected to get to. I do not understand why people revel in that. Rather than say, wow, that was interesting. So that bit worked, that bit didn't, that bit didn't, and that bit didn't. What did you learn from that?
Yeah.
I don't know Russell's work particularly well at all. I think I've met him twice and had about 3 telephone conversations.
Yeah. Well, as I said earlier, I've had a slightly different experience with Russell. eMove was my first job as an estate agent, so I joined them in end of 2014, and I was there for a couple of years. So I was there in the glory days, I guess you could have called it.
Yeah.
And I've always looked up to Russell. He was my first boss, and to have a first boss like that was absolutely amazing. I don't think I would have been doing the things that I am today without having that as my starting point in my career. And you said that, you know, when you look at what has happened, people revel in, maybe if you call it a failure.
Yeah.
But the man done so much as well. He done so much for the industry, done so much for people around it. Purple Bricks probably wouldn't be who they are today if it wasn't for eMove, because they had that competition. I've got a lot of respect, a lot of time for us, and I think to have that go on with eMove and then come back fighting still.
Yeah. I mean, this is why I say one of the most influential people. I'm sure people are going to confuse influence with what they determine to be a successful business.
Sure.
Undoubtedly, he is one of the most, and has been, influential people in a estate agency. Again, you only have to look when he does his posts online. The amount of people that come back to him on what do you know, blah, 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 blah. I can only speak as I find, and I had cause to look for some mentoring no more than 18 months ago for a project that I was given. And I made a contact to him through Twitter. He probably didn't know me from Adam. And he just gave me so much time.
Yeah.
It was so interesting to speak to the guy. And I don't know what his current business ventures will end up coming to. I genuinely don't know. All I can say is absolutely got to be in anybody's top 10, anybody who's honest and truthful to themselves, as one of the most influential people in the state agency. Again, that's just my view, but
yeah,
there we go.
Totally agree. Yeah, got a lot of time for Russell.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's move on from Russell. Let's let's see if I can think of anything else clever to say. I can't. So we've got Katrine's. Is it Sporley? Sorry if I pronounced that again wrong.
I'm not sure how we pronounce the name either, to be honest.
Right.
Now, I've never met this lady. I understand that she's the current head of the Ombudsman scheme, and I understand that she's retiring and somebody will be taking over from her in the autumn.
Right.
So, because I've said the 35 most influential people, I put down Katrine's name, but I don't know the lady. But when I thought about it, I thought to myself, whoever is the Ombudsman, whoever has been the Ombudsman, has almost got to be one of the most influential people in the state.
Yeah, I agree.
Almost got to be. Again, whether you agree with the concept of Ombudsman, whether you agree with with what they ultimately decide about various cases, all those things are irrelevant when one asking the question, are they massively influential on the state agency? Now, I can remember when the idea of an ombudsman first came along, I thought, oh my God, here we go again. More bureaucracy, more ways to make state agents look bad, more ways to cause us problems. But I have been such a convert to this particular redress scheme that I'm now actually a big fan of the property ombudsman. I mean, it doesn't really matter whether I'm a big fan or not. The property ombudsman's there, and we have to comply by it. There we go. But I am actually a big fan because sometimes when you get a complaint, this is what happens with us anyway. I frankly don't believe any agent that says, "Oh, we never get complaints." Well, I don't believe you, but if you don't, well, that's incredibly impressive. We get complaints at Thomas Morris, and some of them are justified, unfortunately, and some of them are not justified. First things that happens, I go to the negotiation and I'll say, "Oh, Mrs. Muggins has rung up and said you didn't do this." Oh, oh no, I knew it'd be Mrs. Muggins. She's a nightmare. Okay. Anyway, just seems every time I come to you, it just seems that every single person's a nightmare. But anyway, Mr. Negotiator, let's go through the facts. And then we'll go through the facts. And to be fair, sometimes Mrs. Muggins is a nightmare. And sometimes Mrs. Muggins hasn't got the facts right. But we go through our complaints procedure, which you're required to do under the Ombudsman scheme. You can't refer it to the Ombudsman, as I understand it, until you've gone through your official complaints procedure. And just having that complaints procedure is a fantastic discipline if it's done properly.
Sure.
And I would say 9 times out of 10, it doesn't go any further. But whereas to start with, I was actually a bit scared, to be honest, about being taken to the Ombudsman. Oh my goodness, that can't be good. I know we're required in any event, as part of the complaints procedure, to explain that people can go to the Ombudsman at the end of it. That's what we're required to do. I try to positively encourage people, but we'll try and resolve this. But at the end of the day, we're required to send it to the Ombudsman. And I really would suggest that if you're not happy, you do take us to the Ombudsman.
Yeah.
And if they're not the custodian of good practice in our industry, I really don't know what is. I mean, their code of conduct is incredibly comprehensive. And I would love to say that we never ever fall foul of it, but we do through error, not through intent,
sure.
Which is but to have that as a starting point, as a trainee, if you were joining an estate agency and you wanted to get an idea of what being a good estate agent from a compliance perspective is, you could do much worse than going through the entire code of the property ombudsman.
Yeah.
And so I believe that whoever is the property ombudsman has got to be one of the most, I mean, arguably the most, but certainly one of the most influential people in the industry.
I think it holds a standard, doesn't it, to our market?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're now up to 4.
Oh my goodness!
Wow, Miles Shipside from Rightmove.
Yeah.
Talk of the town at the moment.
I can almost hear people, Rightmove, we hate Rightmove, they're terrible. But remember, this is the most influential people in the state agency, not who you like, not who you don't like, but most influential. Now, if it was companies, I would say right move. I'm saying Miles Shipside because he is, to my mind anyway, the mouthpiece for right. He's been there as long as I can remember. I think he's an ex-agent and chartered surveyor, so he understands that business. And I've always found him to be really, really fair. Whenever I have had problems with Rightmove, and there have been many times I have, if he ends up getting through to him, he's always listened to my side of the story. He doesn't always agree with it. In fact, I don't think he's ever agreed with my side of the story, to be honest, when we've had some whinges. But he always strikes me as a person that listens and is then prepared to put forward his case. Mm. The other thing that I admire about Miles a lot is, despite the pantomime star booing that is levied at him, he still engages with estate agents.
Yeah.
We did a charity fun walk, Do It for Dom, a couple of years ago when we went to, I think we were canoeing or going to some mountain or some sort of canoeing, that was it. And he stood there all night doing the barbecue for all the estate agents, doing the sausages and the burgers, and I can always hear people saying, "Oh, big deal." But I thought, wow, good on you, man. Good on you.
Yeah.
And I personally am a huge fan of Rightmove. I'm a fan of all the portals. I think if you use the portals properly, I personally think particularly Rightmove, if you use them properly, they can generate huge amounts of business revenue.
Of course.
But what happens, this is what I think, which nobody's going to agree with. What happens if people say, "Oh, they charge me X amount of money. This is just ridiculous." I always say to them, "We'll leave then. Just leave. Just don't use Rightmove." Well, we can't because our competitors will hold it against us. Oh, okay, so you're actually saying that it does have some value, perhaps not the value that you want, but you must believe in that value, or you wouldn't stay and pay what you're paying.
Yeah.
I mean, those two. We hate Rightmove, we're paying too much money, and we're staying with Rightmove, we're continuing to pay them the money. You can't. That's not intellectually sustainable, is it? You can't hold both those views and have a consistent approach. That is because people do know that Rightmove is actually really, really, really good value. Mm. I'll repeat it because I know that people are going to disagree with me, but they're really, really good value. If you use everything that Rightmove says, if you use their additional products, if you value the leads that you get from them, if you use their training, if you have a good relationship with your account manager, if you find out what new products they're trying to do, if you tie yourself to them, ride on the coattails, the millions and millions and millions and millions of pounds that they spend on marketing a trusted brand. Look at it from the consumer's perspective. The consumer never says, "Oh my God, Rightmove, I'm not going to use a Rightmove, it's terrible." Yeah. The consumer normally thinks, "Rightmove, I trust them." And therefore, by affiliating yourself with Rightmove, I think you move your business forward. But again, that's just my view.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair enough. And to go back to Miles himself, if he's willing to sort of take on that feedback, it's because he could very easily just completely shut off and just put something up in front of him. But the fact that he's there at the front of the barbecue, ready to take it,
that's right. And I mean, he goes on roadshow. People say, "Oh, why don't we ever hear from Rightmove?" Well, the fact is, if Rightmove entertain every single posting on, they'd never get any work done. Yeah. But the road shows and Miles goes on those. I think Rightmove and Miles is an excellent guy and they're an excellent company. Mm.